Alright, it's time to fix a bunch of tiny issues like this weird switch, a cable that had been ripped into 2 pieces, that's not too good, and finally the electrician destroyed a plug. Alright, let's start the day off with getting a cable because we're going into a customer to change some downlights. Or that's what I thought, the customer wasn't home, they were walking the dog, so we wasted some time, sat and waited, and finally we could get in to look at the lights. Now the customer said these were flashing, so we agreed to replace them all with some brand new ones. We thought it was an old installation, but it turned out it was actually not that old. The installation used GUT bulbs, so we actually didn't have to do anything but swap the bulbs. But the old dimmer was not good enough. Well, it was meant to go with a high load over 20 watts, and the new installation being LED was right at the limit. So therefore we changed out the dimmer to a brand new one. Now for some reason the old electrician used 2 of these white things. It only need to use one, so yeah, we cut the old one away, removed the old dimmer, we put in the new dimmer. Instead of having 2, we only use 1 of these white things around. These new dimmers have a programmable setting. So right now, if you turn it all the way down to the lowest dim, the light turns off, which is not how it's meant to do, as you click on it to turn it off. So therefore, we program it so the customer can't turn it all the way down. And with the dimmer now also programmed, there was no flashing lights anymore, which actually we didn't see, but the customer said it had been an issue for some time. We removed all of the fingerprints, and instead of having a ton of new spotlights, well, the customer just got some new bulbs and a new dimmer. With that, it was time to go to customer number 2. Now they had this heater that was running on gas and it needed to be replaced with a brand new one. And therefore the customer asked us to replace this old safety switch with a simple plug instead. And yep, that was relatively simple to do because we had both phase, neutral and a ground wire. We opened up the good old fuse panel, turned off the breaker, got out to pick up some materials. We also needed a plug for the cable itself. Luckily, if you just crop the logo, we have a little plug hiding in here, lovely joffly. And with that, the apprentice was already in full swing removing the old switch thing. While he was working, I tested the RCD to make sure all of the safety features works as intended, and yep, they do, so that's always nice. I assembled the little plug here while he was doing the other plug. I don't know what the difference is in the names, sorry to say. We also made sure that the cables had not been penetrated or had any holes in it, and finally we had a happy new little plug. We did also check the ground connection to make sure everything was up to code, and yep, it was a very low ground connection. That is perfect, that's what we want. Then it was time for the customer with the switch where you simply just needed to touch it for the light to turn on and off. Clearly there was a loose connection, so I pulled it out. And this old installation is actually illegal if you do a new build, but because it's old and back when this was made it wasn't illegal, we have some funny wires directly inside of wood, which is illegal if we were to extend on this connection, but we aren't, we are just replacing it 1-to-1. While I was down in the basement, the apprentice was full swing making a new plug up here because the customer had a new electric car. Now I would recommend a proper charger, but the customer just wanted a simple little plug. This switch was now also working, but upstairs the customer had this switch which was falling out of the wall. That's not too nice, is it? The customer tried putting it in himself, but it wasn't succeeded, and I said, you know what, no worries, I have some special screws and I can get it right in there in no time. Yeah, sometimes you say the things a little bit too confident because I got it in there. I got a little bit too well in there. This soft old plastic just said goodbye, I'm gonna crack. So I replaced the plug, and here we are, customers all happy, and the apprentice was also done with the brand new outdoor plug. Look at that face, proper satisfied with what he had done. And then it was time for the final customer who had some funky wires being cut into 2 pieces. Customer had let the digger guy know to be careful, but I clearly hadn't listened. No, I'm just joking, because whoever made this cable originally never correctly assembled these. It had been welded together or something, soldered together. It had never functioned correctly. So we extended the cable in the correct manner, and this is how you do it in Denmark. To all of the guys outside Denmark who's getting triggered, this is how you extend a cable even though it's underground. This is waterproof and it's meant to be done like this. However, the cable should be a lot further down in the ground, but we can't do much about it now other than letting the customer know that this is technically not correct. So this here was the finished result, and the lights were up and working, and we had another happy customer. And that's it for this day. Look at that apprentice.